Okay, good evening, everyone. Can we please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We'll open the meeting up to public comment. Do you have any public comment this evening? Okay, we'll close public comment. And tonight we have our very special presentation, Leaders of the Pack. I'll ask the elementary school to lead it off.
All right. All right, so Jelani's not here this evening, so I'm going to take her place tonight. Anyone want you come up? I'm going to talk about you for a little bit of time. I'm going to embarrass you for a little bit of time. All right, here we go. I'm thrilled to stand before you today to celebrate and recognize an exceptional student who truly embodies the spirit of leadership and excellence at our school. It is with great pleasure that I present to you Fanny Perez Cortez, a remarkable young individual who has been selected as the recipient of this month's prestigious Leader of the Pack Award. The super is here supporting you, our teacher. So I'm going to read a few quick things from across the building from different people. Jody, Miss McCaffrey. Fanny is such a wonderful student in music. She is always prepared in chorus and select chorus and often tells me music facts about composers, which I truly love. Fanny is a huge asset, not to only our music department, but to the Highland District. Way to go, Fanny. All right. Coach Helmer. Fanny is a respectful and responsible student in PE. Fanny is always prepared for class and is very attentive to instruction. Fanny is also willing to help her classmates during group games, activities on a daily basis. And Miss Super Henry. Fanny is a hard-working student throughout the school day. She is polite to both peers and adults. During group work, Fanny can work with any student. When speaking to her past teachers, they quickly smile and share a comment of how it was a pleasure to have Fanny in their classrooms. Fanny also excels in the arts. She is participating in both band and chorus. She also has been accepted into both select band and chorus. She is fluent in both English and Spanish, and both her and her brother took part in the Spanish and English announcements earlier this year. Fanny demonstrates bark, being safe, acting responsibly, showing respect, and is kind. She deserved to be recognized as leader of the pack. So,
So as a relatively new member to the Highland Middle School family, I had the opportunity to meet Liam very recently. He joined me waiting for leave breakfast one day, and I got to know a little bit about him and the things he likes to do after school. And so I'm excited to be able to share some of the things that makes Liam the leader of the pack for our middle school. One that really stood out to me is one from Mr. Hogan. And Mr. Hogan said that Liam is a fantastic student with great enthusiasm for learning. He lifts the mood of the students around him with his positive energy and always does the best to make others feel included. Liam is the first to raise his hand, the first to help out when something needs doing, and the first to encourage the class to do their best. As a member of the choir and jazz band, I also get to see his ability to create. He attended all-county chorus this year and represented our district with pride. In the jazz band, he shows amazing improvisational potential. I can tell that he listens to those around him and shapes his part to respond to the ideas of others. This skill in improvisation is mirrored in his ability to communicate with those around him in the classroom. Liam is a fantastic student, and I'm proud to support him as the leader of the pack. So another one that stood out to me was one from Mr. O. And he said, Liam is a kind and caring kid. Liam is a thoughtful leader who looks to help out classmates throughout his day. He comes to class prepared and ready to learn. He has a great sense of humor and is always smiling. He always provides detail to his work and makes sure it's submitted on time and with great accuracy. Liam is an absolute joy to have in his class. And the last one I'm going to share is from Ms. Monaferto. Liam is responsible, respectful, and a very hardworking student. He has incredible math skills and, as a result, is doing very well in advanced math this year. He participates during lessons and is willing to help others when necessary. Liam is an absolute pleasure to have in class.
Good evening, everyone. This is Emily Martin. She is our leader of the pack at the high school for the month of December. I'm going to try to encapsulate a very well-deserving honor for this student. And for me personally, and probably Mr. Murphy, is probably one of the more deserving leaders of the pack that we will have presented since my time being here. I have some blurbs from many different teachers. But on a personal note, I know that Emily continues to make education a priority in her life, despite circumstances in life. So she's a hard worker, and we look forward to seeing how she progresses the rest of the school year. So I'll start off with Mr. Sargent, who is our school security officer here at the high school. And he shares, I've had the good fortune to watch Emily hit her stride. Over the past 11 school years, I've watched hundreds of kids enter and graduate from Highland High School. Emily will be one of those students that I remember. Emily has changed so much over the past 3 years, maturing and gaining so much focus. Emily's driven to school on many occasions and usually comes to the front door. We get to greet each other and she always puts a smile on my face every day. I think Emily is on track to do something amazing in her future. Not sure what it will be at this time, but I'm quite sure she will give it her all. Ms. Schmidt, who is our attendance secretary at the high school. When I first met Emily, she was a 9th grade student. She didn't seem to care about school much. Emily would come in late, get her pass, and move on. Emily has become a different person as time has passed. She is pleasant, courteous, and a very serious student now. I rarely see Emily in the office anymore because she's on time and she's not in trouble. However, at times, in passing, I see her and she always has a smile on her face. Emily is well deserving of this recognition. I know whatever path she chooses to pursue, she will succeed. Mr. Geller, who is a physical education teacher here at the high school. I have loved getting to know Emily. She has really matured into a dependable, responsible, and one of my favorite students. She is always encouraging to others and is someone that is determined to be successful in whatever she does. Congratulations, Coach Geller. Miss Whiston for math. Emily is always smiling, willing to go further in any and every topic. Always asking deeper questions and challenging herself to find solutions using different methods. It is thrilling to see Emily's face light up when she can make a connection between the content and real life. And Mr. Tatum for social studies. Emily's maturation since her freshman year has been nothing short of incredible. She has persevered through some incredibly difficult circumstances in order to become the student and young woman that she wants to be. She has a genuine intellectual curiosity and brings so much enthusiasm to the classroom. She may not meet every deadline or get every perfect score on every assignment, but she wants to learn, she wants to improve. It always doesn't come easy for her, but she is never afraid to try. excellent choice for this month's Leader of the Pack. And then the last teacher that I want to finish off with, for me, when I was reading this, it was pretty moving, was from Mr. Casalino. You don't have him this year, correct?
No, last year.
So he was a teacher that Emily had from last year, who was a science teacher at the high school. He says, "I'm not sure I can put words into how deserving Emily is of this without sounding cliche or hyperbolic, but here it goes. I've had many of the leaders of the pack recently, and all were deserving. But Emily Martin is the first name that I've seen that made me literally shout at my computer, yes!" And any of us who had Emily in class last year witnessed her turn into a whole new student. In my experience, I have never seen a student so much in a single school year as Emily did between 2022 of September and June 23 improve. By the end of the year, she was one of my most capable, dependable, hardworking students in college physics, even though she was only in 10th grade. And that was a class full of juniors and seniors. I keep checking in with her teachers this year to make sure she's keeping up the great work, but she does not need me to look after her. She just keeps succeeding. I really hope she comes to me for a college recommendation next year so I can say more. Emily deserves so much credit for what she has become, and I am so glad that she is being recognized for Leader of the Pack this month. So congratulations. Miss Martin, you come to the front if you like. Congratulations.
On behalf of the entire Board of Education, we want to congratulate each and every one of our leaders of the pack. Job well done, guys. Thank you. For those that want to leave, you have schoolwork to do or just want to get some rest, you're free to leave.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Hi, guys.
Congrats.
Christmas present in the making.
It's a little longer, so you don't have to
No,
I'm sure your son's pants are all like that now.
Mine are like that. That's why we put the skirt. Mine are up to my knees. I'm not wearing shorts either. Okay, let's move on with our exciting board meeting tonight. Consent agenda. We're going to do our consent agenda from EA.1 to D5.2. If anyone wants to pull any piece of it out, we can have a discussion. We can hold it as a separate motion and vote on it separately. If you have any questions or comments on our consent agenda, now's the time to shout it out.
I just had some questions on the direct energy contract. I talked with Lindsay earlier. She's going to give me some additional information, just more so in monitoring the contract as we go through it. So I'm okay to move forward with it, but just as we go through it, just want some additional information.
Sure. Anyone else? Okay, can I have a motion to move our consent agenda forward? Motion by Camille, second by Heather. further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? So carried. 5-0. Okay, curriculum and instruction, our principal's monthly report. Anyone have any? Oh, I'm sorry, that's directed. Principal's report. You're up first.
All right. One thing that didn't make it to my report was from last night. Last night's concert was we had 5th grade concert, and I was really kind of amazed at like the amount of people that were in there. It was like packed to the gills. It was really awesome to see, and you know, I think I did a really phenomenal job in my first part. Yesterday. I didn't trip over anything on my way up to the stage for my short part. So that was really kind of cool that the kids included me.
You know, now they're all thinking, what was your part? And they want you to replicate that.
We have a video.
I mean, we
of it?
need a chorus
Yeah.
here. We need to sing the whole song too. The whole no elephant song. I'm not, we're not singing, I'm not singing. No one will be happy. And then the only other thing I really just wanted to, and it doesn't really necessarily have to do anything with the school, you know, over this past month, it's been really great to see the amount of parents and community members coming in and doing guest reading throughout the building, not just like the little guys, which is, you know, what you see, but throughout the entire school, which is really kind of awesome, because I was like, are we having a party today? Like, you know, and there's, you know, we normally see a good amount of people, especially around this time, but it's been like throughout this entire month. So it's really kind of cool. And, you know, Ray's like, no, they're going to read with the 3rd grade class, or no, they're talking about this in science in the 4th grade classroom, or whatever it was. So there's been a lot of that, which is kind of cool. And like I said, there's always like weird, impressive moments that come through it. So I think that's it. I think, questions?
You're good this month.
All right, folks, thanks for having me. In true middle school fashion, I have a handout. So this is the one thing I did not add to my report. We are doing a fundraiser for the HMSBTA. It is a blanket fundraiser, so if anybody wants to buy a blanket, I'm going to pass these out. Support the PTA, so please feel free to take a look at that, or not. But that, and it's on the agenda, but tomorrow night is the middle school winter concert, so hopefully you can attend. We don't see. Those are the only updates I have. Does anybody have any questions?
Just a comment.
Yeah.
So the Spirit Week,
Yes.
I just like the intent behind the activities and just looking into the different cultural celebrations that happen. So I appreciate seeing that the Spirit Week.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. Mr. Murphy?
Hi all. I have no updates for anyone. Lily and I kind of split all of our notes and everything accordingly, and everything that I've included in the board report is on my end, and Lily's gonna, when she gets to her report, take care of the rest. So I have no updates for anyone or additions. Any questions at all?
Case of success, how's that progressing?
Great. We have a new company that comes in every month. Last week we
just had Gordon Fire Equipment in
Okay.
last Thursday, and the prior month we had Studio Blue Dental in as well. We're also going to be having in Ulster County Emergency Services, Everett Erickson coming down to present to the kids, possibly Frozen Caboose, Dwayne's Auto, Bella's Baked Goods. So we're trying to get a mix of many different things.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Give them the
diverse offering.
exposure to what's
And it's great. It
potentially
takes
out there
place
for them.
right here in the conference room. A lot of the organizations are coming up and doing presentations on the board. They provide lunch for the students. The students do ask some pretty intriguing questions, especially about pensions and whether or not they pay for college and careers afterwards. So they do ask some engaging questions. It's nice to see that we don't have to poke and prod and pull teeth for them to ask those questions. Mr. Opitz kind of heads that up and has done a great job communicating with all the companies and setting up the logistical, who, what, where, when, and all that. And we have on average about 25 to 30 students that attend each session. So every month it's proving to be very successful.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Director's report. I know we have some of our directors here this evening, so if you have anything you want to shout out to them, go right ahead.
I have a question. I guess I don't see Pete, so maybe this is for you, Rich. The phones. I know a little while back there was an issue with the phones and that was all resolved. Is there still an issue with the phones? Because I recently I personally had an issue in like about, I'm going to say average 16-minute call, the call dropped 4 times. And when I was speaking to the individual at the high school, they said that this is something that is happening often. So I just didn't know what is happening and are we addressing that and how we're going to try and resolve that.
So we have been getting reports. It's not, I wouldn't say it's widespread, but there are pockets of some issues with the phones that have been ongoing.
Okay.
And we've been working with the service provider that we get our phones service from. In fact, they're going to be on site day after tomorrow to help us work through some of the kinks that we're still experiencing. Some of it, it's not always the same issue. In some cases, it's old building wiring that we're kind of contending with. In other cases, it's some software related things. So it's a variety. We're aware of them. We're working through them. The most important thing is that we get that they're reported to us when it happens, because we don't always know when it's happening and then we can't fix it. So I appreciate hearing when it happens so that we can start to work towards this resolution.
It was the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. It was like when conferences were going on. I had called the school and was talking to a staff member here, and I thought it was me. I was like, and they're like, no, this has been happening. So I was like, okay. So I just wanted to check in to see make sure A, you were aware of it, and B, that we had kind of a plan to make sure that we're getting that resolved. Okay.
Rich, is that issue has been narrowed down to internal or external?
It's internal. We're trying to do some relatively unique things with a new phone system, and so the phone company, the company that provides the phones, through the process of us implementing this new system, they've also discovered some bugs on their end, and so they've actually put out some patches and some fixes to resolve some of the issues that we've kind of discovered here. But when you say external, it's not like an issue on anyone else's end in terms of like the person calling the school. It is on our end.
It's on, but at that point, within the building, within the hardware and or software in the building. Okay.
Is it limited just to the high school, or is it all 3 buildings?
It's all 3 buildings.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you guys for your director's report. Appreciate it.
Actually, I just want, Kathy, reading your report, I was very impressed with the information you had on the trips, all the extracurricular activities, and the costs associated on your end with that. Thank you very much. That was
Thank you.
nice to see. It took some time too, I bet.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Lily, your student rep report.
Great, okay. Starting with the elementary school, Miss Weaver's 3rd grade class and Miss Berger's 4th grade class actively participated in the Martin Luther King Jr. Student Art and Essay exhibit. This online exhibit is scheduled to be live from January 15th to February 29th of 2024 provides a platform for students to showcase their artistic talents and reflect on the principles of Dr. King. Throughout this project, the students have not only demonstrated their creativity, but have also engaged in a meaningful exploration of Dr. King's 6 principles and the 6 steps of nonviolence. With the middle school, modified winter sports are underway, and the students are excited to get started with their games and their competitions. Highland Middle School has students competing in wrestling, basketball, track, and bowling.
The Highland Middle School December Spirit Month is off to a great start. Students and staff alike are really embracing school spirit and earning points for their selected PBIS houses. The PBIS will host a winter extravaganza on December 21st, which will include different games and activities for the students to enjoy throughout the day. Students will have the chance to earn house points by competing in the various games and activities. For the high school, junior Lena Tran recently performed with the All-State Concert Band at the acclaimed Eastman Theater in Rochester, New York. The All-State Concert Band is the most prestigious student band in the New York State School Music Association. She was selected as the first chair flutist and had a solo on Overturn to Candid. We are so proud of Lena's hard work, and we're glad she was rewarded with such an amazing musical opportunity. I also want to add, this is the same Lena Tran that performed at Carnegie Hall last year, so she is doing great. On Monday, our 2-week spirit festivities began. Monday was Pajama Day, today was Dress Like a Candy Cane Day. Then we have Winter Wonderland Days, Festive Thursday, Flannel Friday, and many more. Zoom Monday, I'm excited for that. Like business on top, casual on the bottom. Zoom Monday. Seniors from our writing and rhetoric and voice and identity and society classes recently visited the Hessel Museum of Art at Bard College to see the exhibit Indian Theater, Native Performance Art, and Self-Determination. Thanks to donations from Highland PTSA, students were able to enjoy a lunch at the campus dining hall, followed by a walk around to experience the campus's architecture. The freshman class did the annual Walkway Over the Hudson trip to observe the Sojourner Truth Monument and participate in the scavenger hunt. We also just held our very successful financial aid night for the senior families. Director Christopher Chang presented on the updated FAFSA, the free app for federal student aid, and where to go from here. 4 of our seniors were nominated for the All-Star Senior Game that is hosted by Section 9 every year. Mark Kazapuli, Connor Gemmel, James Gescheitel, and Craig Elliott. And Mark Kazapuli was the only one that was able to attend, but it was a great athletic opportunity for football and for him. And those are all of my notes. Any questions?
Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, Dr. Boyd.
All right. So over the last couple of months, one of the things I've been mentioning was one of the state performance plans. What we're kind of audited and reviewed on was our transition services for students 15 and older. It's a section of the IEP. So we just got our results back. So they look at our IEPs for students 15 and older. For our in-district students, we had 100% compliance rate. For our out-of-district students, we did have 4 IEPs that they identified with very minor changes to them that they asked for updates. And they look at very specific language in the IEP that it follows the exact language. And it was looking at goals for students when they finish their high school career. So it was really good feedback from our regional associate on the IEPs that we're writing, which is good to hear. We're always looking to improve, though. So we can talk through ways that we can do that. But it was just a couple of minor adjustments that we'll need to make on those so we can be in full compliance with that. We are at the beginning stages of planning our annual reviews for the spring. Typically those meetings will start in February and March, but the planning starts much earlier. Just to thank you to the PPS staff and the building level staff for their help and support as we schedule these meetings to make them accessible for parents and to make them a productive use of time for our families as well. I attended last week, Senator Gillibrand had a school mental health and youth violence grants workshop, and it was presented as a way to look at funding for schools, specific for school violence and for mental health. A lot of the grants, unfortunately, don't apply to us. We don't meet certain criteria, and some of the grants that they were putting out were some of the money that we're already receiving from like a Title IV standpoint, that they look at school safety and well-rounded education and improved technology. So it wasn't as fruitful as I had kind of hoped of what we were looking at in potentially getting some more funding to help support our mental health staff and to look at the supports we put in for our students. But there was a number of individuals all the way up from the U.S. Department of Justice, Education, Health, folks from State Ed, Office of Mental Health, a lot of people there but not as fruitful as I kind of hoped. But and lastly, last week we submitted all of our data for our audit on the American Rescue Plan grants. We will hear back around January 19th, and then we have a half-day virtual meeting with folks from the state as they look at those, and they'll give us feedback and then determine if they need any more information from us. That's it for me.
Anything for Dr. Boyd? Thank you. Mr. Zimmer.
Good evening, everyone. As we all know, fostering continuous community engagement remains a top priority for our district. And so I'm excited to announce that the annual Panorama Survey is now live. The opinions of all our stakeholders are invaluable to us, helping to guide the decisions that shape the future of our educational community. So parents should have received an email invitation to participate in the survey last week. Additionally, both students and faculty will be taking the survey before winter break. A postcard will be mailed home, serving as a friendly reminder to take part in the survey. The postcard includes a QR code, which is easily scannable with your phone's camera, and it provides convenient access to the survey. All stakeholders' insights matter to us, so parents are strongly encouraged to take a few moments to share their thoughts and experiences. The survey is set to close on January 5th. Next, students in grades 3 through 8 will participate in a computer-based testing simulation on January 23rd and 24th. This simulation serves a dual purpose. Firstly, it helps to assess our network capabilities, and secondly, it provides students with an opportunity to become familiar with the test format. This simulation is purely for practice, and no student data will be recorded or evaluated. Our primary goal is to ensure a seamless testing experience for our students when the actual assessments take place. In early January, a letter from our elementary and middle school principals will be sent home explaining the importance of each student's participation in the simulation. And each trustee has a copy of that letter in front of them, as well as a copy of, it doesn't look like a postcard, but it is postcard size when it goes home. This is just the sample that we have. That's for the Panorama Survey. And lastly, the District Direct Committee met last Tuesday, December 5th. Representatives from each building level committee shared out emerging goals and initiatives in the elementary, middle, and high schools for this school year. The full committee discussed how our food programming could engage in culturally responsive education, with a number of very powerful and practical suggestions that will be shared with our food service director and other collaborating partners. The committee also scored the excellent submissions for our equity graphic design contest, and the results of that contest will be announced soon. Not everybody has had a chance to vote yet, so we don't have the full tallies yet, but there was some pretty cool artwork there that was submitted. In other equity news, each building faculty has been updated on the passage of the board policy 3430 during recent faculty meetings, and they were given the opportunity to read the full policy and ask any questions of our diversity, equity, and inclusion liaison, Harriet Meyer. I'd like to point out that the next direct committee meeting is scheduled for 6 p.m. on Tuesday, February 20th on Zoom. For those who are interested in attending, please reach out to me or Harriet Meyer at the high school for the link. And that's all I have for you this evening.
Any questions for Mr. Zimmer?
Thank you.
Right, thank you. Superintendent?
Okay, so some of the building principals already alluded to this is concert week. Last night was the elementary concert. Tomorrow night is the middle school band and choral concert, and Thursday night is the high school. So please come out and support them if you're able to. At the last board meeting, we discussed doing a cell phone survey of the staffs at both the high school and middle school. So I would like to thank the administration for getting that together. The board should have received that data from me in my Friday update for you to review in anticipation of tonight's conversation about cell phones. Thursday, I will be hosting the Mid-Hudson Catskill Council of School Superintendents here in Highland. There'll be 2 superintendents from Ulster County, 2 from Dutchess, 2 from Sullivan, and 2 from Orange, who will come together and we meet pretty much once every 2 months to talk about things that we would like to have advocated for us in this region. So I look forward to meeting with them on Thursday, and I'll give an update in my Friday update on that. Actually, Middletown will be joining me, I hope. So, last call for any board members who would like to participate in the Rotary raffle. I have those tickets in my office, so if you're interested, please stop by and see me on your way out. I will collect Venmo or cash or check for the Rotary. And just a plug for the Rotary, thank them very much for all the work that they do on behalf of our students, and especially the Junior Achievement Program at the elementary school. It is a Herculean task that they undertake every year, getting volunteers to come in and run those sessions for our youngest students. So that's to be looking forward to that in the spring. Reminder to the Board of Ed, please, I gave you information from BOCES in my Friday update. That is all still confidential information, but please review that so that you're prepared with any questions that you might have for the presentation that they will be here. Dr. Schenker and his team will be at the next board meeting on January 16th at 7 p.m. If you have any particular questions that you'd like to get to me beforehand, I will make sure that he gets them and gets them into his presentation. We are the third presentation that he will give, so I'm hoping that questions will be asked at the first two and he'll incorporate them into the third one, but we are pretty early on in the series, so if there's something that's weighing on your mind, please let me know and I can get it to him and he can incorporate that into the presentation. Support services met this past week, and I gave a brief update in my update this past week, but all parts of our project as of today have been accepted or approved by State Ed, except we're still waiting for the approval from the high school. We did get architectural review complete, but we did not get the final approval and building permit yet. So we're hoping that's any day now. So hopefully they get that done before they close up for the winter holiday. And then just the winter holiday does begin on Friday, December 22nd. We will not have students in attendance, and the district will be closed that day. And we will be closed through January 1st, and school will reopen on January 2nd. So I wish everyone a happy holiday and look forward to 2024.
Any questions for the superintendent? Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Under Board of Education, new business, Special Education Service Provider Agreement. Be it resolved, the Board of Education, upon the recommendation of the superintendent, approve the following service agreement between Highland Central School District, the district, and Milestones for Munchkins, principal place of business located at 534 Route 6, Mahopac, New York. The contract are effective December 13th, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, as presented to the board at this meeting. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Tom, second by Janine. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anyone abstaining? So carried.
So I apologize, that probably should have been under the consent agenda because it's standard, and Dr. Boyd just pointed it out that we probably should have put it under consent, so apologize for that.
Not a problem. Under old business, overnight trip varsity baseball, be it resolved, the Board of Education, upon a recommendation of the superintendent, approves the following overnight high school student trip as follows. Varsity baseball spring training to Orlando, Florida. It's going to be at the Wide World of Sports in Disney, March 23rd, 2024 to March 28th, 2024. Approximately 16 to 18 players, 6 chaperones, ongoing fundraiser via the Highland Baseball Booster Club. John Maganello, varsity head coach, and the chaperones right now are head coach John Maganello, assistant coach Rob Bell, athletic director, assistant coach Frank Alfonso, and trainer John Kenny. Can I have a motion, please? Motion by Camille, second by Heather. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? So carried, 5-0. I'm gonna just move, because I believe we have our representatives from our design and management team. I'm gonna move the capital project. We're gonna have a capital project update ahead of the cell phone use discussion. So Scott and I believe Dion's out there. Dion's out there. You guys just give us a quick update. And look, all right, snuck in from the back.
Thank you, everybody. Again, I'm Scott Butler with the Plumbo Group, construction manager.
Dion Miller with CSR, project architect.
Give a quick little update on current phase 1 status, SED statuses, and projected phase 2 scope of work, a little bit of schedule. So a little bit about where we are. If you guys remember, on September 26th, we awarded the following contracts for the phase 1 scope of work. I've got a location by location breakdown of what that will be. The elementary school, again, for the summer of 2024, we're removing hazardous floor, replacement of VCT in select classrooms. Removal of removable partitions in those classrooms and replace them with hardened gypsum stud walls. Replacement of select hardware or select doors and hardware along the classrooms, mostly first and second floor, and the first and the kindergarten wing. Within all those rooms that we're doing the abatement on the flooring, we're also replacing ceilings and lights, as well as full building, mostly full building electrical and the switchgear. And I asked for that rule, the switchgear due to lead time. We've had design and coordination meetings that won't take place during the summer, so we'll do small panels in the hallway and localize, and then once that becomes available, we'll do a winter of 24 full building shutdown. We'll have generators for items of importance, IT related, fire alarm related, boilers, things of that nature. And then adjacent outside work along the rec area, just on the top of the hill, there's a chain link fence we're installing there, so a little bit of site work. Jumping over to the middle school, we're at the installation of a new gymnasium sound system, repair of gymnasium concrete staircases, that corridor that leads back into the gym. Pretty much all of those staircases that you see, they've got some cracks and spalling, a little bit of handrail repair. We are redoing or regrading the infield for the softball fields, making sure that there's less ponding with the new drainage system. We are replacing the exterior basketball court adjacent to the town, and then the perimeter fence along the neighbor. So there's a little bit of site work there. Following up,
just real quick on the middle school, do you have an approximate cost of what replacing the softball field infield? Aren't we also doing the outfield and grading that too, so it's not a dropped off slope?
No,
we're not doing that.
No, we're not. We're doing the clay area,
just
shallow infield. We'll call it like that, right in clay, and then the all the drainage system out to the swale
we have
beyond
an
the playground.
Approximate cost of that.
I can get. We've got the schedule of values broken down. We're working on Councilman's now, but Vinco's is done, so I can certainly email the team and get you that.
No, what was our estimate going in? What the value of that particular scope? Do we have that? You can get that to us.
I can absolutely
and then also
get that to you. I just don't
the value of the replacing of the exterior basketball court at the middle school.
Yep. That's all. So our schedule of values broken down by building and then by scopes of work, material labors. Not a big deal. I'll get to that tomorrow. Over at high school, we've got again removal of hazardous flooring in select classrooms along this corridor, and then beyond the principal's office, and then replacement of the lockers and the contaminated plaster above in the ceiling. So everything from this corridor and then the one beyond from floor to ceiling will be abated. We put new lockers in, and then we repair the walls. We're also refinishing the wood walls right outside the auditorium at the high school, right across from the gymnasium. And then there's a bunch of exterior work in and around that exit beyond the parking lot, going through the auditorium. We're replacing sidewalks, and pretty much we're wrapped around the building. So All that is we're having bi-weekly meetings with all the primes, the architects, going through submittals, approvals, lead times, work plans, things of that nature, all in preparations for the summer of 2024. With the exception to the elementary school, which I emailed Pete, we'll have a meeting here shortly to kind of go through your summer. Everything else will be summer scope. What we'd like to do is give a little bit of update on phase 2, but just we heard your update from SED.
Yes, we do have approval for the high school.
Oh.
Yeah. We got an email Friday that the technical review was passed, and that was the only piece that was remaining. So we do have approval for all the buildings as of Friday. I didn't get that one.
So that's a good conversation breaks. Everything we talked about is phase 2, which we'll go through a little bit of the schedule, which will lapse the summer of 2024 and then the summer of 2025, and we get a little bit of details of why that is. Similar to the contracts that we awarded for phase 1, we've got a general contractor, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. And then associated with the field, we've got the field or site work contractor, and then a bunch of state contractor co-ops, bleachers, press box. Obviously, we're not doing anything with the lighting or the scoreboard. Then you've got the track coating, and then we're entertaining the idea right now is at the middle school doing the fire alarm off of state contract and co-op purchasing, as well as the public address and time clock system. So we're able to utilize some of our local installers and state contract co-op contracts to better our buying power. A little bit about that schedule. So we are, now that we have all our approvals here from SED, we're finalizing all the bid packages, the bid documents, the bid schedules, the plans, the specs, anything that maybe was lingering outstanding from SED. We finalized that. We hope to be out to bid advertised January 12th. We're anticipating a 3-week bid cycle. We bring the contractors in, we give them a site survey of the field conditions, the buildings, the boilers, everywhere we're going to be doing the work. We receive the bids on February 2nd. We will then bring all those low bid or second to low bid or whatever we feel necessary for qualifications, kind of like a scope interview, making sure that all the bells and whistles were captured and purchased. And then we hope to be back here February 13th with some recommendations for award. So then we will have phase 1 and phase 2 pretty much going on concurrent. Half of that work being the summer of 2024. Bit of a schedule, kind of an idea of when the work will take place, and you can kind of see a majority of that is July and August of 2024. So if we always talked about phase 1 and phase 2 being simultaneous, with the exception of the long lead items, and that being mechanical work. So scope of the work is boilers, rooftop units, things of that nature. And they vary from locker rooms, gyms, libraries. When we go to do that work, that will all be the summer of 2025. We want to make sure we own all that equipment, and then when we get into being disruptive, so we'll procure all that work. It's a lead time issue, but we'll get all those contracts kind of awarded and assigned in the coming weeks. And then to go back, so then we talk about the start of the field work. That will commence as soon as that's awarded. We'll break ground as soon as the weather kind of allows us. And then that'll be every bit of close to a year between replacing the field, getting the turf in, replacing the track, installing the foundations for the bleachers and the press box, the concession stand, all that nature. And then you can see the building work will be 2024 with the mechanical work, and then the subsequent mechanical work. Now, so let's say we're in some of the cafeterias where we've got ductwork above the ceilings. Obviously, the ceilings and lights will come in the same as the summer of 2025, because we don't, we need access. We're going to be disruptive. We're going to go in there once. So a little bit about where we'll be. So again, we'll have phase 1 and phase 2 kind of concurrent in 2024, with the mechanical heavy scope being in 2025. A little bit of where we stand on a budgetary thing. So as you can remember, when phase 1, we were a little bit of over budget, with a little bit of that being additional added scope or alternates. So when we had it and we bid the lockers, base bid may have been one hallway where a secondary section was another, or classrooms, base bid may have been a select number of classrooms in the elementary school, and then we expanded upon that. So that kind of got us a little bit behind the 8 ball, just going into phase 2. Ways that we are looking to minimize that impact going forward. Obviously, you take a look at the work that we're about to do the field concession, the bleachers, the press box. They're kind of an all or nothing, right? We're not gonna build half a field or, the bleachers without the press box and things of that nature. So there's not a lot of opportunity, if you would, to get some alternates or some secondary numbers on that type of scope of work. Same with fire alarm, PA clocks, or the sanitary or the water related scope in the middle school. And if we're gonna do the fire alarm system, it's an all or nothing. So what's left out of that scope is some of the office work. We're doing the principal's offices. We're doing the food service offices. And then we're doing all the mechanical work. So our strategy bidding this work is really having a set of base bids or packages that are, we want no matter what. For example, the middle school boilers, right? And if you take a look at that list there, in any particular location, and then you have alternates. So we will still, it's all designed, it's all approved, it's all ready to go. When we talk about an alternate, it's basically an adder price, right? We're going to collect bids at base bid, right? That's going to be the set project no matter what. And then these alternates will be something that amongst the team, right? The board, the service select committee, recommendations, and pricing, we'll be able to fill in those gaps or those shortfalls on the budget. To make sure that we're spending as much as we can, but being fiscally responsible on managing the job, because it's going to be bid in the next couple of weeks, and we're talking about 2025 for it.
Scott, going back to the athletic field and that reconstruction, can you just walk us through from April through, let's say, October? Is there the possibility that turf will be down and the only thing to be done in the late spring is the coating of the track?
That would be the scheduled goal that we're going to put out, is breaking grounds, doing all the drainage system, subgrades for the concession and the press box, right? And once that's all down, then you start working on the drainage for the field, and that's what makes a field, right? Just the swampiness, the wetness, the potting of the water, right? It's the drainage system that really takes a lot of time when you're doing the fields. You're getting all that water off of the field. So I would imagine between September and October, that turf would be thinking about going down. I'm actually finalizing that schedule now. I'll share it with the services committee. We pave, and then now it's in October. Now we talk about track coating. Track coating is a very temperature and moisture sensitive product. What happens is you winter yourself out, right? And a lot of times in this situation, we would be looking to come in as soon as spring breaks, not spring break, right? But as the temperatures are there and it's dry enough to go ahead and track that or surface coat that track. So we would take the field out of service this spring. So no lacrosse, no track and field. We would go through to the fall, right? No football, no soccer, right? And then again into the following spring, we can have a conversation. Obviously, there'd be no track because there'd be no track surface, but do we want to have lacrosse, right, and wait on the track surface, or just get it done and do later season home events of things of that nature? So that's a conversation we just need to, it's more about a district preference. We get into graduating athletics and what sports.
Yeah, so that was like one of my big questions with athletic practices, because thinking about when fall sports will start practicing in August all the way through. So as far as the field pretty much won't be starting this spring. So I guess now
it'll be a three season inaccessibility.
Everything has to be relocated to the other buildings.
Other facilities, other parts of campus, commuting to.
So I mean, we have that capacity to, or is there a plan already in place to?
Frank, I think you have a preliminary plan once you know exactly what the duration is going to be of the preparation and the field. Yeah, I know at one time we spoke about hopefully in the month of October at least getting the varsity team to have one game, either it be girls soccer, boys soccer, or football, just so those seniors have the opportunity to have a game on a turf field. So that's why I asked that question: is can we move the process along? I mean, I've asked that I want to thank you guys for moving the bid date up to February 2nd so we can approve at our February 13th meeting. But can we break ground on that field in March? Because, I mean, it's construction. It's not, where it's temperature sensitive. We can put equipment on that field and start ripping it up in March, not wait until April. If we, as the district, have to push contracts along, we get approvals from our attorneys for bonds and insurances, we'll do that just to get that thing moving. I mean, I think that's our intent, and that's how our superintendent did a lot of legwork and went out there and sold this project to the community, saying that those things were going to take place. So I think we really got to accelerate and push that project through, and I know it can happen. I was told all along that through state contract, once you get SCD approval, you're going to hit the ground and put those things out and award them. I don't know if that's being taken place with bleachers and press box and all the state contracts, because you have all your approvals now. So those contracts should be in place this month, and we can award beginning of our January meeting. So I think that all has to be accelerated, because we didn't sell this project to the community to go into 2025. So if we're going into 2025, it's got to be the least intrusive type of work to this district, because we sold it that we are going to complete in 24. Unfortunately, SCD slowed the process down, but now that's all in place. I think phase 2 can accelerate.
Is that standard for 3 seasons? Because I feel like there's other school districts in the area who did not have their fields out for 3 seasons.
Actually, more like 4 because we get into the spring of.
Some districts have played football without the track being coated.
Yeah, there's some school districts that it was like it was out late spring and they were back on there for fall. So how is this taking 3 seasons? And it's not just the sports. What about the graduation? Is that 2 potential graduations that we have on that field, that those 2 graduating class aren't going to have that same experience? So it's not just 3, potentially 4 sports seasons, but it's also 2 graduations that this community looks forward to, of having that commencement out on that field. It just seems excessive that it's that long.
So just to be clear, I think when we talk about the 3 seasons, it's spring, fall, spring. So as far as your graduation, it's really only affecting your graduating class of 2024. So 2025, you'll have the stadium in place. And right now, everything that's being presented, we try to present it conservatively because we can't control the market. But right, as Al said, we're going to buy the field, buy the carpet, so to speak. We're going to buy the rubber. We're buying the stadium. The stadium right now, after you sign a PO, the bleachers is 6 to 7 months lead. Because of the war, aluminum right now is anything that's aluminum based has really become more expensive and a longer lead time. So when you look at something simple as bleachers on the other side, and I think about it, as soon as you write that PO, so we can't write that PO until February, then there's a shop drawing submittal approval process. Those bleachers are not going to be ordered until March. Now we had 6, 7 months, so we're talking late fall, we're installing those bleachers. That's the math, right? We can't change how long it takes to manufacture bleachers and a press box. The rubber that goes down can't go down in anything than less than 52 degrees. So 52 degrees is where that mark is. And we sort of play ball with that at the end of October, early November, but that asphalt has got to be money for a week. Well, we have to look at the schedule and say, you know what, we have a constant 55, we might be able to get that done. What we have done with districts, when we did Spack and Kills, we were able to get that done in two seasons, right? We did not 3, but we were able to get that, like Al said, we were able to get there March. We had a soft winter, we jumped in March, and we had that stadium completed in the fall of that. So we only took it for 2, and we had the rubber down. But when you look at SPAC, everything was plug and play, everything was just the way it is. And that's pretty much what you got here. So we're not reinventing what you have. You know, your space is right where it is. What's great about it too, the lighting, the existing lighting is where it is. We're not buying new lighting. That lighting was put in years ago. I was a part of that project and we put the lighting in. We're not replacing that lighting, so that's a great thing. So that's one less thing that we have to worry about as far as buying, installing. Concession, if for some reason the concession isn't done perfectly on time, that's okay, you can still have your sports, and that's the goal. We wanna make sure you have your sports. But we wanna make sure we're careful not to promise, we wanna make sure we say, hey, these are the hardships that we run into. We talk 3 seasons. When we talk 3 seasons, not 3 summers, it's spring, fall, spring. You're losing 1 summer, your graduating class of 2024, no matter what, was gonna be affected, you know, and 2025 will be in a good place. So we're gonna push as hard as we can.
What is the plan for track, since that's 2 of their seasons and maybe a little bit harder, just a plan for relocating for the track team?
And right now with the spring season coming up, I mean, I put feelers out for track because that's the one where obviously track can't practice there. And then your lacrosse would, you know, plan on going to the middle school. Flag football would either go to Tony Williams or the town field, but you also have modified programs too. The fall, you know, we're going to be all over the place. But if we move everything to the middle school or to the town, those fields are going to get pounded on, and you know, maintenance of those are going to take a lot of work to do. And then with transportation for track for now possibly 2 seasons, that's going to be an everyday transportation issue to get those kids to either Marlboro or New Paltz, you know, to give them an opportunity to practice. So it's going to take a lot from everybody to really make it work for 3 seasons.
When we know it, the plan for that, the spring will be here before we know it. So just thinking about, you know, transportation for families, like so for any high schooler, we'll bus them to whatever location, but then families have to pick up, like if we're in New Paltz, families have to go to New Paltz, where they have to go to New Paltz to pick up their children, or Marlboro, or where they
right
there, or like.
I've talked to both districts, and really it's about what could they let us do. You know, do they want 50, 60 kids practicing while they're practicing, or are they going to let us go at a later time? I mean, I would think that if we're going to go right after school, we would get on a bus and then come back here and get picked up.
There's a thing about for families, like to go. Some families have trouble picking up their kids here at the high school. Now we go to a neighboring town, right? That's another. You know, we may have kids that may not do some of these sports because they can't get to New Paltz or wherever.
Right.
Just to bus them back.
We have to bus them back.
We bus them back.
We have to bus them both ways. And I mean, the fall, we've done it in the past with the fall. When I first started, we started the fall season, I think of 2016. We were down at the middle school. We played 2 football games down there. We played all our soccer games down there, and we were able to get a game or 2 in October. And it worked out fine. And we'll make it work, but I just figured it'd just be a season and a half. I didn't realize it'd be going into 3 seasons.
I don't think any of us did.
And this, just so this is common. This is, you know, we've done Marlboro's track and field. It was 3 seasons. Spagkill, we were able to do it 2. Rondout, 3 seasons. Pauling, 3 seasons. Millbrook, 3 seasons. Anybody that's converting to the synthetic, because of the stormwater process, the build of the field, it just takes time. And if you rush it, you're not going to have a fantastic product to play on. This is common with all the districts that we've been. And in fact, we're going to be building Cornwall's. We're putting that out to bid. Same thing, same conversation, 3 seasons. But they have a field at the middle school, right? Which you guys don't have those options.
If you start in March, you're basically excavating and doing that kind of work, correct? And then you're just waiting for the turf and different things at that point.
No,
So
I'm not anticipating waiting lead time related.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I'm not, other than the bleachers and the press box, we really shouldn't be waiting on products. It's just the time it'll take to do the activities, get the turf down, get the asphalt down, let that cure, get gas off, all that kind of stuff, and then you get into, you know, is the weather cooperating?
Frank, were we able to, or were we ever asked to accommodate, like say Marlboro, when they were going through their field changeover? Did they ask us for any space?
Not for a season, for possibly, in the past, yes, for some practices here or there, or some games here or there, but not for
Well,
a
no,
complete
when they
season.
were doing the transition.
I mean, the only issue with us where we would need another district would just be for track. We can take care of what we got here between an Ardome field possibly, which we used in the past for soccer that one year, the town field next to downtown, and then also with Tony Williams. You know, we can convert that baseball field into a flag football field and baseball for, you know, the spring. So we can take care of what we got here other than the track team.
And as far as the abatement, what's the impact on like building staff in the summertime here at the high school? Will it be just very early in the summer, or is that going to be a big impact?
It's essentially the month of July between the two corridors, and they need to be complete shutdowns. So we've got, you know, barrier the whole building. We've got separate entrances. Like we're coming off the side entrance over here. The back, we're coming, you know, out of the back, and we'll kind of drive around and coordinate with the GC site work. So that way, the main entrance, we were told, kind of needs to, you know, live and run and operate. But the building will have its segments of confinement for mostly the month of July, and then it's the rebuild time. Lockers come back in, and we're rebuilding walls and ceilings. So, you know, those corridors, even though may not be in the abatement type scenarios, they'll still be in a heavy construction situation.
It's the elementary school that's going to be the problem. Like, not necessarily problem, but that's the one that's going to be taken out of commission the most, because there's the most being done there this summer. And unfortunately, it's the way the calendar falls. This is the shortest summer that we have, because school's going to start in early September, because Labor Day is like the 2nd or 3rd.
Yes, yeah.
And school doesn't get out this year till like the 26th, 27th, something like that. So that's what he's talking about talking with Ian about doing some lead work before the kids are gone, relocating some classrooms and things like that during those last couple of weeks. But no abatement can be done when anybody is there.
No
So
matter how long it would take.
it would be other type of work that's yeah.
They usually take longer than what you're told initially sometimes.
Well, that schedule has been gone over like with a fine-tooth comb. With you could talk more about that than I
Yeah,
can.
so we basically tell them what they kind of need to anticipate for the summer, right? You will be abatement, you know, done by the 17th of July and in a particular area, and this is how we're going to rebuild it. And then based on those kind of cost parameters, they go ahead and they bid the job, the low bidder based on those now defined rules. They can go ahead and tweak their own schedule a little bit, but then they go ahead and they tell us how, you know, they want to, you know, construct or move around the building, build a better mousetrap type game plan, and then those schedules are updated, if not weekly, definitely bi-weekly. It's not one of those, hey, let's do it once a month, because there's only, by the time you update it in the end of July, right? Summer's, you know, over, right? So it's meeting with Pete, it's meeting with the team, right, and giving them updates as the summer progresses.
Scott, I know I believe it was our 2016, one of the projects where we did VAT abatement at the elementary school, we ran into an issue with VAT running underneath cabinetry, and it became a major change order. Has that been addressed, that we don't anticipate VAT under the cabinetry in those in the elementary school?
All of that was done.
We took the unit vents out, did the casework out, and then put the abated all the flooring and the new flooring down. So anything underneath the existing.
That's part of this contract.
Yeah.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, the abatement was the old. So the way that if you go to a classroom now, you see a 10 by 3 foot square of different BCT on the floor. All that was the new, you know, abated replacements, and then we do the rest of the building, rest of the classroom.
Leon, at a couple of our support service meetings, and I believe also at a board meeting, I had asked for an alternate to our concession stand for storage area. Has that been put into the project?
Yeah, so we're going to expand it towards the existing pavilion right now. It's easier to expand it that way than expand it off the side where the toileting is. So yeah, that's planned as an alternate in there.
Okay.
What's VCT?
Vinyl composition tile. It's a 12 by 12 tile that see in typical classrooms.
Yeah, that's up in the hallway right now.
Asbestos tile. So we're gonna add a storage area to that.
As an alternate, yeah. It's expanding our existing utility room by 20 by 20, so.
It's common. If you can't even afford that, I would even say make the slab bigger so that you can build something.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've been pushing for storage facilities, but
because you're never going to have enough storage out there.
Seem to strike out on that one.
You do always bring it up. I'll give you that.
Well, I might get a 20 by 20 instead of a maintenance building. We have Connex boxes throughout the whole district. To me are annoying, but that's me.
I agree.
You agree?
They're ugly.
They are ugly. Okay, does anyone else have any questions? I think the key to this whole thing is getting aggressive bids and see if we can put everything within the scope of the project and the budget of the project and move it forward. But I think you've heard from some of the board members that expediting the process is a priority. I know, originally we talked about a March contract date and award date, but I guess you kind of took our heed and moved those into the month of February, which is great. I mean, I think that's what the district is looking for, and the end result, hopefully the community will be appreciative of all was done. So thank you, guys. Anybody else have any questions or concerns?
I think just to hear like what the plans are, for the families, like communication going out to families about spring sports, graduation, because I was surprised hearing about the spring impact. I think summertime, but not spring.
The spring of 25. I think we always anticipated the spring of 24 start construction.
Impacted like graduation and things like that. So it just.
Well, I'm hoping that communication from our design team with our athletic department and our transportation department is happening, so their understanding of what the process is going to be and how it's going to impact them. So that's got to happen. I mean, like we said, the spring's going to come before you know it. It's 3 months down the road and less. And I mean, it could be March could be a very nice month. So we're 2.5 months to that point. So that communication has to happen with our transportation and our athletic department so they can start the ball rolling and plan. I think it might be the first that athletics and transportation is hearing that spring of 25 is going to be construction. So we have to make sure that communication takes place because it could impact the entire district in our athletic programs and our transportation. I mean, we're strapping for bus drivers, and the more pressure we put on transportation, it makes it very difficult to satisfy everybody. I agree. I mean, communication has to happen. We can't just wait for these meetings or wait for a support service meeting. That communication has to happen on a daily, weekly basis with our design team, our construction management team, and the district. I apologize if tonight's the first night you're hearing that spring of 2025 is going to be impacted. Mark?
Just a quick question. Could you refresh my memory on the total cost of the project?
16.9.
16.9 is what I think it was. For phase 2.
Oh, for
21.4
whatever overall.
21.4 million?
And I think if you contact Lindsay.
Yeah, we can get you the exact number tomorrow. It's 21 something.
All right. We haven't broken out phase 1, phase 2, and then the field, right, and then the overall referendum.
Dayon, as we get ready to package, put the bids together, are we going to be creative with alternates?
Yeah, we started to explore the alternates with the mechanical system, and the one that Al's brought up regarding the addition for the concession stand building. I can look at it with my engineers. I'm meeting with my engineers tomorrow to see what they're thinking about piecing some other pieces off.
Go deeper, please.
Yeah,
so that we have a chance to maybe get over a couple of hurdles if things are starting to get a little high.
Right. And the one thing I wanted to touch on before we go is the state contract stuff that Al brought up. So we are, I think, about halfway through that process. So we do have quotes from probably half our vendors already. And we're anticipating to have the rest of that probably within a week. Which I think the one that's really lagging behind is the fire alarm and the public address system in the middle school. But we already have 2 quotes from field vendors. We have a quote from a track coating vendor. We have 1 quote for the press box bleachers. So once we get those in, we'll vet those, and then we'll get back together with the district to figure out what our recommendations would be moving forward. So that process is moving forward. We anticipate that stuff will be awarded well in advance of our bids being awarded in February. So we are in that process right now. We're just vetting those out.
Are we going to have a copy of this? Or?
The presentation,
yeah,
I have it,
I can add it to my update on Friday. Lindsay will remember to send it to me.
Yes.
Okay, anyone else have any other questions or concerns? All right.
Just a question on the middle school fence between the town property and that fence, and then let's say the softball field stays in the project. That would be done during the summer, correct? That wouldn't affect the spring or the fall season, or would
There's
it?
been a contractor request that we need to set up a meeting with the district to go through what that would look like on an operational basis. It could be either or, right? The contractor has expressed interest to get it off the summer schedule if it benefits, the district, it needs to benefit the district. Otherwise, it's set for summer.
Okay, that's what I would recommend. So, thank you. Guess I lose all that.
Okay. Appreciate you guys coming in,
Thank you.
giving the board an update. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
And we'll try to keep the board posted now that once those bid packages are presented to us, so you'll have an idea of what they're looking at to possibly eliminate, if we need to stay within the value of the scope of the project. We'll keep you updated on
That's where the alternates come in.
Okay, cell phone usage discussion. I know our middle school and high school put out a survey, and I believe that went to just
staff.
Teaching staff or overall staff?
Good question. Was it every staff member or just their faculty?
That was just faculty for the high school.
Okay. And same at the
Same.
So I don't know if you had an opportunity to review that. I got to say the overwhelming factor in my mind was that the one question: did cell phone use affect the overall instructional process of the students? And I think majority, percentage-wise, of staff said yes, they feel it does affect their performance in the classroom. So, me personally, we can go around and have a discussion. I don't feel we should come down hard with a policy at this point. I think we have to do a little soft approach and see how that fans out. Keep the dialogue going with our administrative staff just to get their input and their feedback, and possibly for September putting a policy into effect that will tweak what's currently in place for cell phone usage and expand on that. So I don't think we should be hard nosed and say we eliminate cell phones completely like some districts have and they go away. I think we can do a soft approach and see how that affects performance and how staff will support that. Anybody else?
Right now, I currently like the process that they have within the high school with the red light, green light scenario when they can use them correctly. in a room, is that right?
That's correct, yeah. Teachers have full autonomy of their classroom to make the determination and the decision as to when they do or do not allow students to use their cell phones in the room.
And you're fairly successful with that?
From everything that I have been informed, yes.
But Tom, looking at the survey doesn't support that philosophy of red light, green light at all. So if what I'm hearing and staff has the option of using red light, green light, and they choose not to, it seems like based on this survey and what I'm reading here, and the one is, do you think the student's academic performance is affected by excessive cell phone use during school hours? And yes is 91%. That's the staff telling us through the survey.
Yeah.
That's school hours, but is that school hours in the classroom?
Well, school hours is only 7 hours.
No, but I'm just saying, is it?
And they got 5 periods a day times 42 minutes. It's probably 5.5 hours. Well, that's school hours. Have you experienced any difficulties enforcing existing cell phone policies? Yes, it's 63%. So that doesn't tell me that the red light, green light philosophy is working or being used. So I don't support the red light, green light. I'm opening up to the rest of the board.
Yeah, I agree. Looking at the data, like here, yes, I agree with, from, just reading the data that shows that whatever it is, when staff say they have trouble enforcing it, the staff, each teacher has the ability to say cell phone use in my class or no cell phone use, but that number is 63% or 64% say have trouble enforcing it. I was curious about the last question about the positive impacts of cell phone usage. So I was just curious, like, what the positive impacts were. Get more information about that, and then just also curious if there's been conversations about what teachers are using cell phones for in the classroom, and then what do we have these devices for that can do the same job? Because I find it. I use my computer a lot, but I'd rather use my computer than my phone because the size of it to do certain things. So I'm just curious, like, what teachers use it for, the phones for in the classroom, and what's the solution with the one-to-one devices? So I'm pretty sure we have that. We have that. Where, so I'm just.
Yeah. So let me just give some clarity on some of the numbers. 91% sounds like a lot, but this is based on a number of 39. So we're talking about 36 teachers who that is what equates to 91%. It was 3 teachers, again, out of a total of 39, who made up the difference of that. So just so that there's a little bit more clarity and transparency as to the actual faculty numbers that kind of make up that pie chart. Camille, for those 2 questions, with the positive impacts, the split of 53% and 46, that's 21 staff saying yes and 18 staff saying no. And I just want to make sure that I kind of emphasize the fact that we do have an existing policy in place that definitely identifies how staff is able to utilize both for instructional purposes and non-instructional uses. The red zone and green zone purposes, it's a laminated sheet for those of you that don't know what it is. It's Velcroed to the wall, and teachers have the ability, it's their classroom, to determine when students are allowed to use it and when they're not. If the teacher does not want them to use it, they put the red zone sign up. If the teachers do want them to use it, they put the green zone sign up. So it's the teacher's responsibility in order to enforce this. So that said, based on survey results that they're responding with, and I agree with Al that it's a little bit contradictory in the fact that 91% of them, or 36 of them, are saying one thing through a survey, yet they still have the decision-making power and authority to kind of take care of that within their own classroom and police, those types of responsibilities. So I think it's definitely part of a larger conversation that needs to take place. But again, policy 7316 already is in existence. So it might be part of a larger conversation of taking a look at how things are identified within this policy. if there needs to be any updates that have to take place.
Yeah, I guess I question, it took us a long time to get, well, it took us a lot of discussions to get to a one-to-one environment. COVID happened and we automatically got there, right? But it did take us, without COVID, it would have taken us a long time to get there. And just to look at and see the number of students who are using their phones over those devices. Anytime we make a decision to invest in a program, equipment, staffing, whatever it is, it comes at the expense of something else, right? So the way I look at it is, if we are funding one-to-one, I want those devices used because I am foregoing something else, or we as a district are foregoing something else. I'm not saying that I want a hard-nosed policy to say no cell phone usage, but I really think it's in the benefit of all of our students and our teachers to have a very clear, defined policy of what is acceptable and what is not. I agree with giving teachers leeway, but sometimes that does create a rough time with kids adjusting to those boundaries, right? Mom's more lenient than dad, you know, so it does create a little bit of an issue there. So I think I look at more so from a student mental health perspective as well, right? I think phones everywhere in life, right? We need to learn boundaries with them. I myself need to, right? When I'm with my kids and we're watching TV and I pick it up and I'm like, yeah, put it down, you know? We all need to, and we all need to be mindful of it. Think about these kids that are not as mature as we are in terms of making decisions. You know, I really think that we need to have guidelines that are to be followed. Like I said, I'm not in favor of saying absolutely not. They all need to be, you know, locked up or whatever, but I do think we need more clarity around it. The other thing that I just noticed from the surveys was it seemed to be that there was a different survey for middle school, high school.
Yeah, so we had some different questions based on kind of how the policy works. And we have some different rules in the middle school when it comes to cell phones. So we added a couple different ones just to see what teachers thought about expanding things. Currently at the middle school, we don't really follow the red zone, green zone in terms of cell phone use. So students are not allowed to use their cell phones at all unless it's for a teacher, very specific teacher-driven activity, which would be like, there's only a few of them that I can think of. Some of the science classes and math classes use apps on their phone once in a while to do different things that you can't do on a Chromebook. But predominantly, we push Chromebooks and we don't allow cell phones. So it's a little different. Obviously, high school students are old, right? So that's why those questions were on there.
Yeah, no, and it makes sense. And really, I think what stuck out to me, I think it was on the middle school one, was would staff be in favor of a policy, right? And I think, you know, I think it was the answers or the responses I saw are what I would expect to see, right? It's not an easy thing to enforce, is what I'll say.
Just something that clicked with me going back to your question about the devices that we've given out to our students. I think we're one-to-one throughout the entire district. So you're talking roughly 1,700 devices. Rich, how many requisitions do you get in a normal week where devices need repairs, a battery charger is not working, or the batteries are dead or whatever? Do you get many requisitions in the course of a week for that, for repair?
We do. We have a system in place at the middle school in particular, because they are using the Chromebooks very extensively.
That's good to hear. That's great to hear.
They use them.
So I guess my point is that our investment in the Chromebooks throughout 1,700 students, are we getting bang for our buck there from a district, from a standpoint of us being the fiduciary, our responsibility to the district? Is that happening? I guess that's the question. So I think it sounds like it's happening more so in the middle school than it is the high school, because you're getting more requisitions for updates, repairs, or whatever it may be from the middle school. So that's interesting.
There's also some maturity there too, right? I was gonna say, so sure. Some of the requisitions, some of the things that could not necessarily be because of use academically, right? It could be like learning how to like hold have an expensive, not hit your back. And I would say, but again, there's a gap between middle school and high school, right? So there's a gap of understanding that. Also, I think like when you get to high school, you know, or as you get older, you start to prefer things that are more convenient to you. So I guarantee you carrying that or carrying this is more convenient as you get older too, right? The same thing, like I rather carry like my iPad than my work issued laptop because it's smaller, it's easier, I could throw it in, I don't have to bring a separate bag. So as you get older, right, we grow as individuals too. So we start to develop what we like and what we like to do. Yes, it needs to be, you know, confined to, because they are still students and they're still in high school. But I think that some of it too is that kind of getting used to what works for them too.
So what I'm hearing is the possibility that we should reevaluate our distribution of Chromebooks to the entire district.
I think what I'd say is
So
I
that
would
could
like
be a
to look at
conversation
the
at some point in
usage,
time.
right? We should be able to, I would think, get some data on, you know, usage and see, you know. I know I had a district issued laptop. I wasn't using it, so I returned it because, you know, like the updates and stuff like that. Just you want to make sure it's being utilized the most as possible. And I mean, let's look at, I would want to look at that usage, especially at the high school level. Elementary school level is different. They use it as much as they can. I'm sure it's different. They're not bringing it home. There's, you know, but I think really from the high school perspective, it's, are we using these most of the time? Whereas that laptop's sitting, right? I don't know.
Does every student get issued one? I mean, my son has he has a laptop at home, but he uses a school one. So does everyone get one of these? And even if they choose not to, like Lily uses her MacBook. So everyone has they still get one of these if they don't use it?
Everyone is issued one. We have found that some students, they may have returned it and they just use their own device, but by and large, every student is issued a device, or one of our Chromebooks.
Not necessarily every student utilizes it, they use their own, so it's left at home or it's in their locker, to utilize lockers. Or buying new lockers.
That we're putting in new lockers.
That's
They
the
don't
next
use.
conversation.
So at the middle school, there's no problem per se?
In terms of cell phones?
Cell phones?
I mean, there's certainly a distraction, and we have a policy where if they're out and using them in a non-school way, then the teacher will remove that for either the period, or if it's they're a repeat offender, it will go to the front, and they can get it at the end of the day. So we're pretty strict, and so yeah, certainly they're a distraction, but you know, I think our approach is pretty good. Certainly some mom and dad, right? Some teachers are a little bit more okay, put that away, whereas others will, that, you know, it's going to the main office. But I think we do a pretty good job managing it.
So at the middle school, you don't have specific time that they can use them? No.
Before school and after school.
Before school, after school.
Mm-hmm.
No in passing in the hallway, none of that?
Not currently, no. I mean, listen, it's something that we've, as a team, we've discussed.
That's a fact, though, you're probably catching kids.
Yeah,
with them.
All the time.
That's a fact. And as they transition out of that environment at your school, move up into the high school, is there any uptick within that 9th grade level of testing waters?
So I got to tell you, I've had this conversation with principals that I know in California, Florida, Texas, Virginia, and here in New York. At last week's countywide principals meeting, the principals are all seeing the same types of challenges across the board. This is definitely an uptick from coming out of the pandemic, where students did not get the foundation that they needed in earlier years due to being out of the building. And we're still trying to navigate some of those challenges. So it is a common theme and motif throughout public high schools with a lot of administrators that I'm friends with having the same conversations. And again, going back to the mom-dad kind of approach with this, there are staff who are very comfortable setting their expectations. It's not a policy because we have a district policy.
Right.
It may be a classroom practice, but it's not a policy.
Right.
But teachers have set their practices from day one and let the students know what the use or no use rule is going to be within their classroom.
Right.
And other teachers utilize it for different purposes.
As your maturity level, though, you know,
Exactly.
when a 9th grader comes out of the middle school to that new world at the high school, that's a lot different than a senior. are the higher grades more responsible in how they use those devices? When? Are they just better at it, where you don't see it?
When there's an issue, I wouldn't disaggregate the data by grade level. I would say that when a teacher has an issue of some kind, if they send in a referral to administration, then we handle it accordingly. I will say that it's very few referrals that actually come in for cell phone issues.
It's interesting to see that, but then see the data, right? That says that they are having trouble managing it. So it's kind of, you know, maybe it's not getting to the referral level, but a constant distraction, constant battle of reminders
If
and
it's not that,
reminders.
it's probably something else, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah.
As a parent, you know, we've had this discussion. My son, you know, my sons, I'll say my sons, I'm not gonna throw one under the bus, another, but because one graduate, one's here. But they, you know, during the welcome open houses, the teachers would say, here, you know, red zone, right, that's there. But my kids could tell me which teachers they could use the phone in, even if it was a red zone, and which ones they weren't, right? So you're right, like it's about like we have these rules, and am I going to enforce them in my classroom? And some teachers will enforce the rules, and some teachers don't want to deal with it for whatever reason. So, so man, that's what I've heard from my own children, that they know, like, don't do it in this class because you're gonna get in trouble. Personally, like if I get a phone call, the phone stays at school. I'm not picking it up, right? So yeah, they kind of know how I felt about the phones. So I haven't had any phone issues, but you know, they don't, you know. So it's so that's something. But you know, to your point, that's really, you know, the enforcement of the current policy. It does fall on the teacher to uphold whatever policies in place.
I couldn't agree more.
Okay, well, where do we want to move?
That's my question. What's the is the data is all over the place.
Yeah, I don't know that the data really points us in one straight path.
Is there any other information you need? I mean,
and again, I will say that Andy and I work very closely on the questioning of this as to what questions were going to take place between the middle school and the high school. And again, based on the maturation needs of the students, and you know what goes on between 6th and 8th grade and 9th and 12th. That's why the questions were different.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I agree. The questions are there. The data is all over the place, and we saw that too. And I shared it with the teachers too, what we came up with. So if you want us to dig in deeper into one of these areas, we could certainly do that. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, outside the data, even the article you shared with us, I mean, even outside of that, it's kind of split. Like people know it's a distraction. Like people in higher ed, like administrators all over, they all know it's a distraction. But in terms of which way to really go, everybody's split, right? I think everyone could talk themselves in and out of let's go this direction or let's go that direction. I think we have to figure out what is right for our community and our students in our district. And I think that's where I don't know what that looks like right now, but I think that we just have to kind of worry about us and how to get our students on the right path.
would it be advantageous to us to ask the administrators to put another small survey, or even at a faculty meeting, whatever it may be, to kind of get a feeling of how we can do a soft approach to improving the current policy or tweaking the current policy where they have a little bit more bite to it, so they can
I say
enforce.
put an open-ended question out to every staff member and say, what do you want to see and how do you want to see it happen? And let's get them to tell us rather than just answer a question that you're blindly saying yes or no to. That it's very easy for me to say, yes, I'm having a problem with cell phones. I'm going to say.
And I've had teachers reach out to me on both sides of this, like not, you know, sharing their concerns and or what they'd be excited to do. So I think anecdotal data would be great.
Yeah, and you know, even putting that question out, half the teachers are going to say one thing and half are going to say the other, and we're right back in the same position.
I think also, if you do the open-ended as well, maybe put a committee together, right? And therefore we have representation from administrators, from staff, from our board, from, you know, just as a committee to really look at what the right direction is, like Janine said, for our community.
And students too.
And students, yeah. Yep.
I think what's important for me is to get some data back. Maybe Rich, you can do that. Is what we invested in the 1,700 Chromebooks. What's our investment on a yearly basis to update them? And if they're not being used, why are we spending that money? I mean, we sit here at times and say, you know, we can use another mental health count, we can do another social worker, we can use this. But if we're spending a couple $100,000 to distribute the Chromebooks or upgrade them or whatever, and they're not being used to the fullest, then why are we throwing that money away? So I think for me, another piece of the data that I would like to have is what our initial investment was to outfit 1,700 students with a Chromebook, and what is the cost of upgrading at a yearly basis? What do we budget for to upgrade them on a yearly basis? I think that's for me, that's important too.
Yeah. And I also, why teachers say they have difficulties in enforcing with both buildings. Like, I'm curious, like, what is that? What's the difficulty? Are the students pushing back? Like I'm just curious what that means, because there's a lot of reasons why you can have difficulty. And then the other one was about the positive impact of cell phone usage. You know, based on the usage reports, like, we're not using the technology, the digital applications we have. And I work in a very tech savvy district for like probably almost 10 years. So I know what can be done, but I don't see that judging by what I see comes in my house with paper and everything. So I feel like that's the area that I was hoping that we'd be a little further along with the pandemic. But I think that's part of it, that we have to start here's that would help kids because they can't do it on their phone. So I think, like, I can speak honestly, like, we're not using those applications appropriately, or not to the extent that we could.
The teaching staff are important to, gauge the educational part of it. But you have a whole other group of people in your schools, paraprofessionals, support staff people, who are the people that interact with the kids, see the kids in the hallway a lot of times, in passing, in between classes, when some of that little surreptitious usage of the cell phone, it's pulled out to check something or whatever, just using it in general, having it out. A lot of teachers are in their classroom or just in the doorway. So, you got wide expanses there. I think the paraprofessionals and the support staff people need to have some input also on this, because they're the ones more often than not that are seeing this usage happen.
We included any of our TAs or aides or TAs who have they do study halls and stuff like that were included in this as well. Anybody who had their own period with students was included. So we don't have that many, but they were included.
Okay, because we did ask it earlier, I think, the question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I might have neglected.
And you said it was just, your teaching staff.
Yeah, we have probably 4 or 5 aides who have study halls, so they were also included.
Right. And ours was sent out to the TAs as well. However, they only answered the questions that they felt were applicable to them. So not everyone did respond to it on the TAs.
Right, but there are also people within the support staff union that still have a lot of interaction too. So just, not to be forgotten.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. I think I heard a couple different approaches. I know you mentioned committee. I mean, what are we, I don't like to use the word charge, but what are we asking the administrators to do? I think follow what Joel said. Let's get their input, how we can improve. I think maybe that's the directive, to go back to them and say, the board and we as administrative staff like to know ways that we can improve on the current policy.
We need help on it. We're kind of at a loss right now.
Just be prepared. You're going to have a very split response.
Understood. It's ultimately going to be a decision of the board working with you guys to kind of come to an agreement that this is going to be the approach. And I'm not saying that it's got to stay there forever. I mean, we could tweak it after the first 6 months if we had to, or after the first year. So.
I think that following the lead of what Harriet did with the direct committee and the dress code, I know that we had teachers who were not happy with it, right? But I think as a district, we came with something that was uniform and easy to follow, at least from our perspective. And I think most people support it, even though in the beginning they didn't all agree with it. So I think that was if we were to do something like that, I think that would be beneficial. Which was a lot of work on Harriet's part, so.
We'll move on? Okay. Under miscellaneous, early mail voting, I'm not gonna read all that, but everybody understands what the governor is saying, that there can be early voting, but they have to notify the district clerk in advance. For board members, I don't think we have any objection to the notice that was sent out that William Heck been nominated by the Walk Hill Central School District to fill the unexpired term of their rep at large. I recall, right. Anybody have any objection to that? No, so that can move forward. And just the Ulster County School Board Association memo for the board members. If we got any questions you want to be asked during that January 25th meeting, just present them to Lisa or Joel and they could be sent forward.
I believe that's the meeting that the legislators are going to be there, and I know at least Mr. Bakatsias mentioned that we would like to have some representation at those meetings to advocate on behalf of the district. So if we can get folks to attend that, that would be advisable. Am I correct, Lisa? That's the one with the legislatures?
I'm pretty sure.
I thought it was. As soon as I get, I should get more in the next week from Dr. Schenker, and I can put that in my update.
Okay. Anybody have anything for the good and welfare of the district?
I just want to say that I think we have to be mindful and make sure we get ahead of the curve with communication, specifically with a lot that was discussed tonight with the capital campaign project. I think that we just have to make sure that we are informing our parents and our athletes of what is going to happen for the rollout, because I'm expecting that there's going to be some unhappy people. Mm-hmm. And so we have to figure out a way to make sure that they're not unhappy and that our athletes are getting the same attention for them, and that other things that take place on that field and in this community on our grounds is still taking place.
I think the one thing we'll find is you're never gonna make everybody happy.
No,
but
we're
I
not.
think if we communicate the best we can and
Right.
make accommodate everything as best we can, that's all
Correct.
we're gonna be able to
We're
do.
not gonna make everyone happy. There's gonna be people, but I think the key to that is making sure that we're communicating, we're being proactive in communicating, and they're not hearing it secondhand. And then a lot of our telephones are being buzzed because they're hearing things, and then we need to be proactive and make sure that we're being upfront and that we're figuring out the best plan based on the circumstances.
So to that, is there any way maybe we could have Holly put something out?
That's already in the works.
Okay.
And we were just waiting for that last piece to get approved, and as you can tell, that they found out that it was approved before I did.
I'm not communicating till tonight.
Well, I mean, literally, I
think
usually
you said Friday.
I usually get the emails directly from the state, and I have been checking 1,000,000 times a day.
Yeah.
So
I just got to apologize to Lily. We didn't include you in some of this cell phone discussion. Do you have any feelings and thoughts about? All right, I'll have you think about it. That's your homework for the next meeting in January. All right.
Don't worry, if I have anything to add,
You'll let us know.
I'll say it.
Don't ask
He's proven how to
And Lily, if there is something you have ready by any Friday, you can get it to me, and I can send it to them, because I send an update to the board every Friday.
Awesome.
So I'll be more than happy to share. If you want to give me feedback, I will make sure they get it.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Maybe some discussion with your peers, and maybe you get some feedback from them that you can share. It would be helpful for us, because we're struggling a little bit, not knowing what direction, because like everybody said, the data is fluid, and it's up and down, so we're not getting a good true picture of.
And if I'm not mistaken, I was in those seats the last time we reviewed this policy. We did have some students come to the board. and express their opinions. So, not that we need.
I know one time when I brought it up a few years ago, probably 5, 6, 7 years ago, a lot of staff members came to the meeting and expressed, because we were talking about, kind of taking that privilege away from staff members came forward and said, they're utilizing at that point for educational purposes.
And that's how the green light, red light thing happened. Started at the high school level.
For the devices now.
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Janine said about just, because I only imagine whoever's watching the meeting, hearing some of this, like, it's going to start the buzz about what's going to happen, not happen. So I think the sooner that message can go out to prevent some of that. And then just with the cell phone policy, like similarly, I think speaking from experience, like the more buy-in you can get, like you're not going to get 100%, but I think the more stakeholders you can get involved in that conversation, it'll be a smoother launch than to whatever may come next. I think that's going to be key, whatever happens next.
I think maybe our director of transportation and athletics should possibly at times be involved in those committee meetings with the design team and our district director of facilities. So they got an idea of what could happen, what's going to happen, because it does affect, especially with the shortage of bus drivers, it affects transportation deeply. It really does. If we have to start transporting for 3 seasons, throughout the area, it's going to have a big impact. Right.
Yeah, I already wrote that down, that we definitely need to have a conversation between all 3 departments, probably other people, because we are literally 3 months from yesterday, the start of the spring season. And it's going to take a lot to make it work, and we have to have it in a position where everybody needs to be on the same page. Because if not, everyone's just going to be all over the place. So
I mean, a perfect example is if for that slide presentation, if the fields is not going to start until April, you could possibly still you got the practice field, you could still keep athletics here on campus and then transport them out for games, and practices could still take place. So we need that dialogue. That dialogue has got to happen. And I think probably the bulk of that dialogue got to come from director of facilities, because he's in contact more with design team, and that's got to be filtered down to those two departments. It has to be, and they have to be involved in that conversation.
the spring season's over May 15th.
Yeah.
I mean, we're pretty much done with the regular season by anywhere between May 5th and May 15th.
Right.
Our regular seasons are done. So we're only talking about, April and part of May.
But I think.
But I don't know what their plan is with.
I don't think any of us know.
I think they need to, I know there's a lot up in the air, but I think they have to tighten their timeline too, because that's a good point. Like, spring is done by May 15th. So are they saying, like, we're going to start on April 27th? At that point, then wait a week to finish out the spring sports. Yeah, it's going to mess up graduation, but at least then you could get one more season in. They have to tighten the timeline up a little bit, because that's a huge gap. And I know he's saying that other schools were 3 seasons, but many of us have administrators and have people in other districts where it was not that long, specifically Roundup.
My take on all that, this is not pointing a finger at, but whoever we hire as a design and a management team is working for Highland Central School District, not Marlboro Central School District, not New Paltz Central District. They're working for us, so they gotta move in our direction. I had to jump through hoops to get the bid schedule moved into February because it was way out there. And I said, guys, you gotta accelerate this. It's gotta happen. We're gonna approve contracts. If they're favorable contracts, we're approving them in our February 13th meeting. And I guess it's gonna happen.
Are they aware, like, of what Janine said, like the seasons, like when this, spring start? Are they just saying, here's like, we got it now, let's go, and not thinking about? the school
I
calendar.
don't know,
you know, like
because
those-
I don't think that
That
communication's
detail needs to
happening.
happen at the support services committee. I mean, I don't think it doesn't happen here, right? That's what
Our
we trust the
support service meetings do not happen on a regular basis. I mean, we basically have to, Joel and I would have to call one and then it happens, you know. And I got to a point where we haven't had one in a while. Let's get an update.
I think with this project, like, it has to be, you know, correctly scheduled.
It's
Like I said, they work for us, so let's put them on the
district
calendar, right?
and everybody uses a team approach. Well, it's us and the departments. We all have to work together to make this.
Absolutely.
There is dead times in that process, though.
Sure.
There is dead times.
If you put them on the calendar and it's a dead time, you just cancel it. Everybody likes time back, right? So you just try to get into a cadence with them. Maybe that's better.
Without a doubt.
You know, the first Monday of, you know, and if there's nothing going on, then cancel
But
it.
there is periods of time where
Mhm.
stuff is going on, but nothing has any effect at that moment.
And acknowledge that's a lot on the support services committee too, and so acknowledge and appreciate everything that committee does too. And, you know, there's a lot of coordination, there's a lot of time and effort that goes into a capital project.
When we were going around to the buildings, doing the sell, you know, to the public, the real, for this turf part of this project, the real buy-in and the push came from the parents of the younger students who were going to be the kids that were going to be, you know, they're not impacted right now, unfortunately. People with students in the high school, yes, they are affected. But the parents from the younger grades were the ones that I think really truly believe pushed this whole project through. And they're not going to, you know, we have to notify them too, obviously, but they should be kept in the loop. But it's going to be a little rough. We just got to do the right stuff to tighten things up and, you know, push it along and try to pull some time back, you know.
I think we need to be cautious too, right? I think there's a line that you can toe there, but making sure that we're not pulling it back too much to you know, cause an issue that down the road we're continuously chasing an issue or chasing a problem. You know, I think it's definitely, you know.
We want it done right also.
Right.
That's
always
the
my
thing.
fear, is that we try to rush things in or get them in quicker than they should be.
There's going to be people upset. There's going to be a lot, you know, got to try to minimize that and move forward.
Okay. Anything else? Anything for the good and welfare of the district? I'll open the meeting back up to public comment. We'll close public comment. Motion to adjourn. Motion by Tom, second by Neil. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anybody opposed?